All right, welcome to another episode of the Bicycle Rider YouTube channel. And as you know, we try to test and ride products that are affordable but yet work really well. And I wanted to get into the gravel racing a bit, so I bought a gravel bike, and there's a lot of really nice bikes on the market, but I kind of was looking for more of something in a price range. And I spent about $1,500 on this 2019 Marin Gestalt x10. And I would just like to say, after about 7 months of ownership with this bike, it's probably the best $1,500 I've spent on a bike. And believe me, that's saying a lot, because I have bought a lot of bikes, and I have bought a lot of bikes that cost a lot more than this. But I was thinking about gravel racing. I'm going to be putting this on the gravel roads. There's definitely the chance that you could slip and fall and crash on a rock or something with gravel racing. It's kind of a new territory to me. So I didn't want to go all out and spend, $5,000 on the fastest carbon fiber gravel bike with some really nice carbon rims or something. And I'm not saying those bikes aren't worth the money, but what I am saying that I was on a budget, and I wanted a bike that was robust. And the Marin Gestalt X10 has been just that. It has been very robust. Marin calls this the mountain biker's road bike. And it definitely is that, but I have found out that it's so much more. Let me just go over a couple of the specs of this bike real quick, but I'm not going to go over everything, because you could look that up on their spec sheet. But it's aluminum framed. It's a really nice made aluminum frame bike. And as you know, aluminum is one of those frame materials that it helps the price point of the bike. But yet the way they can manipulate aluminum nowadays really makes it a light and stiff material, and that's what I was looking for, because really, I bought this bike to chase podiums on the gravel scene. So I wasn't really looking for that subtle ride. I wanted something more speed orientated, and I like the way Marin has done their geometry with this bike. Like I said, it's an aluminum frame bike with a carbon fork, so it's definitely on the lighter side of what some of the steel gravel bikes are, unless you're looking at the real high end. So it really fit the bill of what I needed. But I like the way that the frame geometry kind of incorporates this rake. And that has really made this bike very stable to ride. And I have put several thousand miles on this bike in multiple situations. Like I said, I bought this bike for gravel, but I have ended up using it quite a bit as a commuter bike, and even a road bike. Sometimes when you only have one bike, room for one bike on your van or in your vehicle on a trip or something, a bike like this really can do multiple things very well. And I'm finding out just how versatile the gravel bike is. And this gravel bike, not being the most expensive bike on the market, really has performed well beyond its price tag. And I have not yet put this in its first gravel race, because gravel season is just getting ready to kick off. And I have been with a lot of fast gravel groups preparing. And you see a lot of people busting out some pretty high-end bikes, and to me that's eye candy. I like that, but I didn't have that much money to throw down on my first try at gravel racing. So I went for more of a budget bike. It's got a SRAM GX drivetrain that has really proven to be very quick responding. This is the 10 speed, and I'm finding out the 10 speed with a 1x really works well for the gravel racing that I'm doing here in the South. It keeps things light, it keeps things simple, and I have not had a problem with the drivetrain at all. It's the double tap apex shifters, and I've got to say that the bike brakes and shifts great for the amount of money that I spent on this bike. It does have the manual brakes as far as a cable brake system instead of the hydraulic brakes, and I think that's part of the reason the price point has has come down on this bike compared to some of the others. But I have to say that the bike stops great. There's a lot of modulation in the levers, especially as it's been worn in over several months. So even though it's not a hydraulic braking system, it seems to work very well. I can stop this bike on a dime, and like I said, I do a lot of commuting on this bike, so in and out of traffic, this bike, it's really nice to have the stopping power, especially as the road gets wet or something. I feel very confident in the braking system on this bike. I feel very secure in shifting gears, as far as, you know, not missing shifts and shifting at critical points. You know, if you're getting ready to make a break in the group, it's nice when you can tap this lever and know it's going to shift gears right. And this bike has always shifted gears good. So just in the build of this bike, it has really outperformed my expectations of what I thought it would do. You know, there's a lot of key points to this bike, and I'm going to go over some of those in a different video. But for now, I just wanted to give the Marin Gestalt X10 thumbs up on being a budget-friendly gravel bike that has really turned into so much more for me. I mean, I lead a group ride through the city of Biloxi and Ocean Springs on Friday nights, and this bike is the bike of choice for me to do that. It really is very speedy, in and out of traffic. It's got kind of a shorter triangle on the back, and it seems to put the power to the ground really good. But yet with the raked out front end, it stays super stable. I just have some Crank Brothers flat pedals on here, the Stamp 1s, and that works really good, you know, around city when I'm not really wanting to clip in. And it really does pedal very well with just flat pedals on it. But I've got a set of the Crank Brothers mallets that when I'm serious, I clip in, and this bike really opens up with that type of pedal system on it. I did install a Redshift Sports suspension stem, their shock stop suspension stem, and that was you know, a $150 upgrade that I did to this bike. So I said this bike cost me about $1,500, and I've got, you know, a suspension stem that added a little bit of a price to it. But the suspension stem has been so nice on a kind of a buzzy gravel bike. It has really smoothed out the ride for $150 rather than spending, you know, a couple $1,000s on a carbon frame that's got some compliance built into it, or buying a suspension fork like the Loft, and I've heard that's a great product. But budget friendly, this suspension stem has really enhanced the ride qualities as far as when the going gets tough in the urban situation, with potholes and curbs and sidewalks, and in the gravel situation, to kind of mitigate that fatigue that you would have coming from a aluminum framed bike. I don't have the stock tires on here anymore. I've put so many miles on the tires that I wore them out after about 2,000 miles, which, you know, if a gravel tire lasts 2,000 miles, that's been a pretty good tire. So I've went with a 700 by 42 tire, and that gives me enough air volume where it soaks up a lot of the bumps and discomfort that I get from the gravel roads and the urban situation, but yet it still keeps it really fast. If I want to jump in on a road ride that's going to average, a B group that's going to average about 20 miles an hour, I have no problem doing it on this bike. And after that ride, if I want to take the gravel road home, I can also easily jump on the gravel road, and this bike is very capable of that type of situation. But for the most part, this bike is in a stock configuration, and part of my goal with this bike was not to put a whole lot more money into it, and I'm finding I don't have to. Pretty soon we're going to start gravel racing the season, and this is probably going to be one of the low dollar bikes that show up on the line for the guys that are racing for the podium. And so as the gravel racing scene goes, I'm going to kind of let you know how this bike does chasing podiums. I don't think the bike's going to hold me back. If anything, it's going to be my fitness, so I'm working on that. And with it, you know, that's another nice thing about having a gravel bike. It's so easy to go get some fitness in your own neighborhood, because it opens up doors to roads and sidewalks and parks and stuff that you wouldn't want to go ride on your road bike, and, you know, that would be boring for your mountain bike. So just know the Marin Gestalt series. This is the X10. They make an X11 that's a little bit more pricey, but my wife has that bike and it's super nice as well. But I wanted to be on the budget side of things, and this bike really does perform very well. In future videos, I want to do more about just gravel bikes in general, and you know how fun and great gravel bikes are. But the Gestalt X10 is a great bike for the money. If you have any questions, feel free to leave us some comments, and I can take pictures of anything you want on this bike and answer any questions, because I have put many miles and many hours on this bike, so I'm very familiar with the different ride characteristics, and I'm going to give it a thumbs up on value equals performance for this bike. For a $1,500 gravel bike, you get a lot of bike for the money. All right, thank you.